Don't judge me. I just clean your fork. Battery exhausted, she says. I'm fucking exhausted. Here we go. Let's crack on with this neck. We're all glued back. Bit of magic. It's a completely different day. No one needs to know what day it is though. I will never tell you. I'll keep it to myself. We're all glued in. Skunk stripe is glued in. We've done it round for the haters. I'm going to get that chopped off now. Very, very gingerly. With the bandsaw, with a new blade on. Oh, it's delicious. We're going to chop that off. Give it a little touch with a sander, come back, we'll have a neck ready for the next stage. For the next stage, not the next stage. Don't pick me up on my grammar, dickheads.
I'll see you later, dickhead!
Little look behind the scenes. Just sorting out tripods. It's part of my life now. Okay, so our skunk stripe is sanded off and it's all looking rather pleasant. I know, I agree. Sexy. Next step I'm going to do is get this thing radiused. And I'm also going to chop out the scallop on the headstock. The reason I want to do that is because when we're radiusing it makes life a bit easier. So the next port of call is just to measure 15mm thickness. Again, if you're ever unsure, you've got guitars laying around your house. You must have. If you're building guitars, you must have a couple of guitars. And we'll just check a headstock thickness, 14.58. So we're going to be aiming for around there. So I'm going to measure a little bit thicker, 16mm. You can either score yourself a line. I tend to use a combi square because I'm a hairy ass builder and this is what I use. And I'm just going to put those marks right the way around the headstock. This is the serious part of the video. How do I make this exciting?
Quit boring everyone!
There we go. We've got a reference mark all the way around there. We're going to have a Fender style nut. Oof, on a PRS headstock shape. I know. Sue me, that's fine. So I know the thickness of that nut. I'm going to mark that there. Now one thing to consider is that Fender headstocks, they then scallop down. You can't have too much meat here. Otherwise your strings will catch it. Basically, you're going to leave another nut thickness past the nut. And that's where you're going to have your line to. If that's lost you, you're in trouble.
I'm not a smart man.
Here's the fun bit now, because I have fixed the headstock sander. Yeah, been a bit proactive. I haven't named her yet. If you want to give her a name in the comments, you feel free. She's an angry bitch. Let me just leave you at that. So we know that we're going to be popping that through there and it's going to be giving me the perfect radius. We're not going to put our hands anywhere near her because she will eat them. It's actually one of my favourite machines. It's legendary. The performance is just perfect every time. No stress, unlike having kids. Bosh, that is as about as stress-free as that gets. We've got our scallopy scallops, curvy curves, wallopy wallops, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call it, I'll call it something different every time. Now, you can see what I'm on about. We need to radius this neck. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to radius it. Right, time for a bit of sanding now. Didn't show you much of the radius jig, did I? Because you've seen it all before. We'll do separate videos on that. But we have got a StewMac 12-inch radius block, and that thing is mustard. Although it's 136 quid. 136 doll hairs.
Jesus.
Great British pounds. Let's mark this one up. I'll talk you through what I'm doing. If I look a little bit fatter, it's because I've just had a massive lunch. And Lidl's do tubs of protein ice cream, which is brutal. So we can sand this. Right, I'm going to bring you down on car sit cam. So we've got our radius, and we're just going to check in focus, Paul, dickhead. We're checking our radius all the way, and that is lovely. And there you go. We've got a flat radiused fretboard. It takes a bit of work, but it's worth it because that's perfect. Now we can move on. A little bit of a whip through on Gigas Maximus. I didn't go into that because you've seen it all before. If you want to see how Gigas Maximus works and how we line all this up, then by all means go and have a little look at the video in the jig list, in the jig playlist. One thing I will mention on here is that obviously this neck is not straight and this jig is straight, and we need to make sure we're super parallel. So before I stick anything down, the center line of this neck, I've marked that center line on the rule and it follows through.
I just sharted.
And I've marked it all out on there. Blah, 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 blah. Over your head. That was a bit serious. Just forget I said anything. Just forget I said that. Now actually, I realised that I have not got one of these steel rulers for a PRS scale length. Oops.
Don't even care.
So it's a Gibson scale length now, which is fine. I can live with that. Can you live with that? Yeah, anyway. So that's far enough on our neck. We are radiused beautifully. We have got our fret slots cut. Had a tiny bit of blowout on a couple of these, but we're gonna round it all over anyway, so that's not a problem. Round our neck in. Gonna make it feel old. This only cuts one slot for the nut because it thinks it's doing a Gibson fretboard. So we'll have to manually cut that one in. That's fine because I have found my nuts are skinnier than the channel that the jig cuts out. So we do that one manually and it'll be a better result. Piece of cake. I hope you could follow along on that one. We've got a bit of laser engraving to do. I'm only going to do side dots on this one, and then I'm going to do some sort of Gothic inlay around the 12th fret. We'll burn that in with a laser, and then I'll whip over the top of that with clear epoxy and sand it all smooth. It's cheating really, it's like a cheater's inlay, but you can do whatever you want on there. Don't really matter. Could even do like a spider's web or something. I don't know. Comment below, what do you think I should put in there? I might have already done it, but put your comments in what you would have done. We've got to do our headstock Richard's custom guitars there. This guitar is actually for a young lady called Amelia, so it's going to be Richard's custom guitars and then Amelia special or something like that. Don't want to imply that Amelia is a bit special, do we? That might be a bit harsh. I'll come up with something cool there. Might put that on the back, don't know. Don't feel the need to complain in the comments because this is not Ofcom, this is YouTube. And you're mistaking me for someone who gives a shit. Right, so while we fly on with that and we do a bit of, I've done the laser engraving. We've been down to Fritzl's, we had a little visit, we came out unscathed, so that's always a little touch, isn't it? We're going to do a little bit of epoxy resining, just a little bit, resining. So what I'm going to do to make things very quick is I'm going to use instant epoxy, which for general use is pretty shit, it's a glue really. But I'm going to use it to infill these inlays because it'll work and it means I can get it done. This stuff is something you get for worktop jobs, for joining them up, but it's really good. 5-minute epoxy. We're going to use some mica powder just to blacken it up. And a little tiny sample pot, which won't be holding any piss. Best thing is, I don't need to measure it. We can just wallop that in. When you get to 43, there's always a little bit left in the barrel in there.
You know, I found that comment to be very suspect.
Say no more. This stuff does absolutely stink. But we're not going to be sniffing the fretboard, are we? It's not for that. Right, so we've got our inlay in. I thought it was touch and go for a minute, it was. But we've got some bats. Can you see that? It only focuses if my face is next to it. Look at that, that's that's still shit. Got the custom inlay. I might change the shape of this headstock because we're not matching. I like PRS's straight string through, and we're not going to achieve that with such a wide headstock. We're going to have kinks. Don't want kinks. So I might change the headstock and thin it down a little bit. No one will notice. I probably could have just not told you. Next port of call is on the body, because I've given it a cut. This poplar, if you want the grain to come through, which I did on this, it's not the wood for you because it's horrible. So when it routs and everything, it's minging. So I've given it 2 coats of primer. In an attempt to be able to sand it and basically just flatten it all out a little bit. I want to get the sides and the back primered and pretty good before I cut the binding in. Otherwise we're going to end up sanding that away. That's not going to be a good idea. In an attempt to not do things twice or even 4 times, that's what I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do is put a tiny little radius on the corner. All right? If anyone walked in there, they'd think, what an absolute mad. That is such a small radius that the router was going, is it in yet? It cut deep. It cut deep. Ah. So a bit of hand sanding, nothing too crazy. Well, I think we'll fade away now. I'm going to the next steps because I can see you drifting off, and I would too, to be honest. I'm going to get some filler on this shit end grain and just fill this out a bit, and then I'm going to come back, I'm going to sand it smooth, and I'm going to give it some more paint, and then if necessary I'm going to do it again. I'm not going to show you any of that. We're going to come back and this will be a nice grey primed body ready for a binding route. I know you've noticed he's got his jumper on, got the merch on. You can find these on Teespring. Have a little look, get yourself a hoodie, help the channel out. There's a few things I've got to do to this neck to get it sewn up. And really, I want to start chopping things out of the body because that's when it starts getting exciting, isn't it? That's the bit you want to see. And I understand that. So I've got a, apologies. I've got a tusk nut. Is that the right way up? I've got a tusk nut. Not bone, not plastic. Tusk with a K. Tuskwa. I've got to put me holes in the end of this headstock. I'm going to use my PRS headstock template. And I'm just going to line up some centre lines. Centre line, centre line, centre line. Just going to line that up, mark that, take it over on the pillar drill, get that done. I have slimmed down my headstock. The reason is that the PRS headstock, we get a nice straight string pull. It's all been calculated for us. I'm trying to just mirror that. Let's take a little bit of the thinking out of the game just to eliminate the chance of a fuck up. You've seen me do this before, it's nothing complicated. We're just going to line up the headstock, centre lines and centre lines as close as we can. You can clamp that if you want. Let's clamp it. Good habits. Centre line, everything's lined up. It's got an 8mm hole in here. All we're going to do, we're going to twist the wrong way because I don't want this drill bit to bite in or anything. And all I'm doing is marking the centre of the holes. And that's all marked out nicely. Eliminated the chance of mistakes. Finally, we get to open up our box of tuners. Do you call them tuners? Do you call them machine heads? Do you even care? So these are pretty standard. There is an affiliate link below. Fucking hell, look at me getting all professional. To the Geico products I'm using. I think I get about 4p. I don't know, don't quote me on that if we're getting legal, if you're going to be one of those idiots. But it does help out the channel. If you don't want to buy a hoodie and look a prick on the high street, you can use my affiliate links. That really helps YouTubers out, apparently. 9.68 millimeters, 0.382 inches. That's the first imperial measurement I've ever given with any degree of accuracy on this channel, because we know that milli-inches do not really exist. But if you're from a metric part of the world, we ain't got a fucking clue what you're talking about. I was born in 1981.
Loose skin and old balls, gross.
The imperial measurement system in the UK was abolished in 1971, a decade before I came to be. So we need to drill some 10mm holes in here. Let's get over to the pillar drill, get some exciting bits done. This headstock's a little bit thicker than normal, so I'm just gonna double check. That works fine, that's lovely. Nice short posts. It's gonna bring our strings, it's gonna give us a better break angle. Let's go with that. So you think, oh, he's thought about that. I haven't thought about that, but it works out lovely. There you go. We're getting a feel for our headstock. That's all looking pretty smart. I like that. I probably could have repositioned the laser engraving a couple of millimeters. Lesson learned. So I'll get these taken apart. I'll put them somewhere safe. Thank you very much to Geiker, because these machine heads are very posh. They're very posh. I do like them a lot. Let's whip them off, shall we? Keep them safe. Let's go and get the body now, and I'll stick a neck pocket in it. And once we've done that, we can start doing all the other fancy bits. Back in a mo. I've still got a centre line in here. It's all looking a bit rough and a bit overspray at the minute, but my body is pretty much primed and ready to a point now where I can start painting it black. But we'll do the binding first. Next week. Oh, it's a reason to come back, isn't it? People have commented, oh, have fun binding that guitar. Yeah, I probably won't have fun binding this guitar. It's going to be an absolute bastard. And I bought some extra, just in case I mess it up. Right, I've got some marks on here from earlier on experiments. I know roughly where my neck's going to go, approximately. All right, I'm going to clamp it very gently. I'm using a nice deep clamp so I can still get a straight edge down the end. Down the end, I know what you're saying. So I'll line that up on my line a little, line it up on my line. Steady, Paul, like a poet. Shakespeare, fucking dick. Now I know I've got that in place, I'm going to use a straight edge down both ends, and I'm just going to check that I'm equal from the centre. I'm going to lay my centre finding ruler on here. On goes my ruler. 31 and a bit. 31 and a bit. Perfect. So now I know that my neck is in line with the body. That's what we want. We're all on our centre lines, and it's looking a little bit fantastic. Next thing I need to do is get these glued down. You've probably seen this before. We don't use neck pocket route outs and on jigs because it doesn't work so well. So we do it this way. So we basically get our piece on there. We're going to double-sided tape that on. We all call it the tape trick, the glue and tape trick, but we're not exactly David Blaine, are we? So magic, 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 magic. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Get that one on there. If you get a bit of glue on your top, it doesn't really matter at this point because this is going to be sanded again over and over and over until it's polished. I've also pre-shaped the end of this so that hopefully my router is going to follow it, and it's going to give me a nice little cutout for my spoke wheel truss rod. Fingers crossed I've got that right. So now we've got that sexy little guide on there. We can use that as a guide for our router. I'm going to come down 19 mil. I'm going to come down 18 mil because I'm hard. Let's go over to the router table. Right, there we go. We've got a neck pocket. Keep them for another job, invaluable. So we've got a neck pocket routed out. So the next port of call is to get some bolts in here. Once we've got that idea, we can start looking at our bridge, check our heights, get a little bit finicky, and it's all gonna come, and then it'll all to come, fucking spit it out, and then it'll all come together pretty quickly. There we go, and we are bolted up nice and deep. Look at that, that's actually looking very awesome. Pointy guitars are weird, aren't they? They are very weird, but we've made a pointy one. I think that will conclude the video. I think we've done all right today. When we come back, we're going to chop out some cavities. That'll be cool. We'll get everything mounted, we'll get the bridge, we'll check some heights, triple check, double check, and all the rest of it. You know what happens. You come back next week, we do a bit more. Make sure you do come back next week though, and make sure you tell your friends to come back. Everyone likes to watch famous people's guitars. Dave Gilmour's guitar went mental. Tens of thousands of people watched it. Pointy guitars don't command such a high audience, which is a shame, because this is just as cool. So make sure you come back, make sure you comment and subscribe. Above all, comment and watch the videos to the end. YouTubers love that. You've all been great. Thanks for watching again. Massively appreciate it. See you later. See you next week.